Hey, do you want to become a better father? Do you want to be a good dad to your kids? Well, here's 10 ways that you can be a better dad. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Anchored Man YouTube channel. My name is Corey. We are here to help you become the man that God has called you to be. Today, we're going to be talking about 10 ways you can be a better dad to your kids. So let's start out with number 10. Don't be overprotective. I see helicopter parents all the time, and all they want to do is protect their children from everything and anything that they think might hurt them. I'm going to say this: your children will not grow unless you let them get hurt once in a while. They will not grow unless you let them experience life once in a while. Do you want your children to grow to be good adults that know how to navigate the world? You got to let them fall sometimes. Let your children fall off their bike and skin their knee. They will grow from that. Mom and dad aren't always going to be there to help them when they fall. That's just the way it is. They have to know how to get back up and get back on that bike and start riding again. And if you're there to coddle them and protect them from everything, it's just, they're not going to learn. They have to learn that there's going to be growing pains in life that they're going to go through as a child. And if they go through those as a child, it'll help them go through them as an adult. How are they going to learn to navigate hurts and failures if you are always holding their hand, coddling them, moving them away from things that you perceive are going to hurt them? Hey, I'm going to tell you something. Life isn't fair. Not everybody gets a trophy. And unfortunately, today we've got a society of children who are growing up that expect everything to be handed to them. They want everything to be A-OK. They want everybody else to take care of them because they don't know how to take care of themselves. Don't be overprotective. Number 9, be nosy. All right, I just got done saying don't be overprotective. Now you're telling me to be nosy? Yes, I am telling you to be nosy. There are going to be times where you're going to need to step in for your children, okay? You need to protect your kids from harming themselves or from harming others. You need to know what your kids are going through in life so you can walk alongside them and help them navigate through stuff. Do you know who your kids are hanging out with? What kind of kids are they hanging out? Are they hanging out with kids who are talking back to their parents all the time? They're swearing and cussing. If your kids are older, are they hanging out with kids who are skipping school, doing drugs? Be nosy. Know what's going on with their. Are they having a hard time in school? Do they need your help? Did your daughter just go through a big breakup? How can you help your kids navigate through that stuff? Number 8, teach hard work. There is more to life than watching TikTok and playing video games all the time. And if we just let our kids do that, they're not going to be productive people as part of society. Do you want your children to succeed? I know I want my children to succeed, so I'm going to teach them how to work hard. I teach my kids how to show up on time for work. I teach my kids, hey, you can't call in sick whenever you want to work. You've got to show up to work. You've got to put in a good, hard day's work. Have your kids help you around the house do some difficult chores, like whether that's raking the yard, chopping wood, uh, cleaning the house. And when they're done, celebrate that with them. Work hard, play hard. So, number 7, answer the question. And this one is kind of a big one for me personally because it kind of hits home for me. Your children are looking to you to answer the questions. Do I have what it takes? Am I worthy? Am I somebody who's significant? And your daughters are asking, Dad, am I pretty? Now, so for me, where that kind of really hits home is I had a mom who was checked out, would rather not ever see me, didn't ever get involved with my life. I had to figure things out for myself. And then my dad left And I didn't see him. I didn't know whether he was alive, dead, or whatever. I didn't see him for 25 years. And I never got those questions answered. I never got the question, hey, am I good enough? Do I have what it takes? Am I really significant to others? And from the way my parents treated me, that answer to me was no, I wasn't significant. I wasn't worthy. And I tell you what, I still struggle with that today. I ask myself constantly, do I have what it takes? Am I worthy enough to be able to do this? Because I never had those questions answered. Tell your kids how proud of them you are. Even when your kids fail, hey, I'm proud of you for at least trying. Let your kids know that you love them. Tell your daughters that they're beautiful. Give your kids the confidence that they need to get through life. Let them know that they are worthy to come to you. Let them know that they are somebody who is significant. Number 6, have fun with your children. Be goofy. Be a goofy dad at times. Okay? You need to be friends with your kids. Now, let me clarify that a little bit. You are always first the parent, but you are also your kids' friend. They want to play with you. They want to create memories with you. They want you to teach them. And when you're being goofy and you're having fun in playing with your kids, it gives them a chance to see another side of you that's not their parent, and they can be like, hey, this guy's really cool. I like him. So have fun with your kids. When you're having fun with your kids, it creates bonds with them that you may not be able to otherwise create for them. Number 5, show your children compassion. I'm going to say this. Remember that your children are different than you are. Their needs are different from your needs, especially as an adult. There are going to be things that are going to happen in their lives. It's a big deal to them. And you're like, that's not a big deal. I've been through it. It's not that big of a deal. But to them, it's their whole world. When your daughter goes through her first breakup, that's her whole world. That's all that matters in her world. I just got through my big breakup, and have compassion on your daughter. Understand what she's going through. Be there for them. When your son doesn't make the baseball team, be there for him. Have compassion. Like, son, I'm really sorry that you didn't make that. What are some things that we can work on together to help you next time? Don't be the type of dad that just looks at your kids and tell them, you're a failure. You should have done better. You better do better next time. No. And don't tell your kids, I told you so, that you weren't good enough. Let them know that you are there for them. When your kid falls off his bike and skins his knee, help him up. Wrap your arms around him. Give him a big hug. Help him clean off his knee. Get him back on that bike. And you have to understand your kids. Number 4, discipline your kids. It drives me nuts when you're in the grocery store and you see a kid who is just acting up in public, being a brat, disrespecting his mother, disrespecting everybody else around them. And because they all are either overtired or they are not getting their way, or they got a toy in their hand that they really want and they want to play with it right now. And it drives me nuts when the mother says, you're not going to get that toy, you're not going to get that candy. I'm going to start counting down right now, and you better start behaving. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's it. You're not getting that toy. And then you see them in the checkout line later. The kid's still acting like a brat, disrespecting his mom, crying and yelling and screaming in public, and she's buying him that toy. Let your yes be yes and let your no be no. You need to teach your kid how to behave. You need to teach your kid how to behave in public. You need to discipline your kids. The Bible says this in Proverbs 13:24, those who spare the rod of discipline hate their children, but those who love their children care enough to discipline them. Teach your kids right from wrong. They also need to know that when they mess up, there are going to be consequences. When your kids start learning, hey, there's consequences for me acting like a brat, doing these things that I'm doing, treating other people with disrespect, crying in public. There's going to be consequences if I continue to do that. Your kids need to know that. And I will say this, don't discipline your kids out of anger. Discipline your kids because you love them. Sit down with them. Hey, you're going to have to suffer the consequences. I still love you. Let's move on. And yes, the kid's going to have to suffer the consequences. And you're going to have to stick with those consequences. Let your yes be yes and let your no be no. It's plain and simple. And I will say this, we've done that with our kids. And our kids understand. You mess up, our no is no. You can't go do that because you did this. You can't go to the game with your friends because you did not finish your homework that you should have turned in. And now you're failing that class because you didn't do the homework that you should have turned in. So no, you can't go with them. Plain and simple. And my kids have learned I better do it right the first time so I can go to the game with my friends and I don't have to suffer the consequences. Number 3, your job is to teach your children. Every opportunity is a teaching moment. You've got to teach your kid how to throw a baseball or shoot a basketball. I remember trying to teach my son, how to change the oil in his car. And he's just not mechanically wired. My middle daughter is. So teach your kids according to their gifts and their talents. My son can throw a crazy curveball. Unfortunately, I was never a pitcher. I couldn't teach him that. He's something he learned on his own. But my kids learned hard work and persistence, and he can throw a nasty curveball. He also learned that through sports and me coaching, that hard work gets you places. And I know if I was to go ask my son right now to go get me a number 1 Phillips head bit, he would probably bring me a ratchet and be like, here you go, Dad. He's just not wired that way. So I've had to teach him according to his talents and his gifts. Just like my middle daughter, I've had to teach her according to her talents and her gifts. And then my youngest, she's the type of person you tell her that she can't do something, she's going to find a way to do it. So we've got to teach her according to that. I remember when she first got into dance, she started out in rec league, and we soon realized there's this whole nother world of competition dance, and we wanted to move her in. She wanted to move into that. We wanted to move her into it. And I remember telling her, hey, you're 3-4 years behind these girls. You've got a lot of catching up to do. And she was like, yep, I know. And she went and did it. She caught up to him, and now she's dancing on the what they call the company line, which is the top line at their dance. So you've got to teach your children. You've got to teach your kids life lessons. You got to teach them how to budget a bank account. You got to teach them how to purchase their new first car. You've got to teach them how to function in society. Okay. And I've tried to do that with everything, with the different ways of, I've tried to do that with my kids. All right. Number 2, be an example for your children. Now, your children are always watching you. One of my favorite pictures that I have and I keep, unfortunately, I think a dog got to it a year or two ago, and I don't know that the picture's around anymore, but I will always remember the picture. It's a picture of me standing at a stove cooking with a towel over my shoulder. And I think I was cooking dinner that night. And my son was standing next to me on a chair, and he had a towel flipped over his shoulder, and he had cooking utensils in his hands, pretending to do the things that his dad was doing. And that to me was a constant reminder that my kids are always watching everything that I do. If you're cussing all the time, drinking beer, your kids are going to grow up, cuss, and drink beer. You treating their mother with disrespect, not only are they going to treat their mother with disrespect, but they're going to treat their wives or husbands with disrespect. How are you treating other people in public? When you're out at a restaurant and the waitress doesn't bring you your meal exactly the way you envisioned it or the way you wanted it, and you treat her like garbage because she didn't do the best job ever, your kids are going to see you treating other people like garbage, and they're going to emulate that, and they're going to do that too. I tell you what, I do not want my kids to do that. I don't want my kids to treat others with disrespect, because when you give other people disrespect, you're going to get disrespect back. Remember, your kids are always going to mimic you. My youngest daughter recently wrote a college paper for one of her college classes, and I think it had something to do with divorce and families nowadays or something. I don't know what the paper was totally about, but my wife was telling me, because she was correcting her paper. My daughter's got dyslexia, so sometimes we have to go in, or my wife does. My wife goes in and tries to interpret what she's trying to say and makes it make sense. But my daughter wrote at the end of this paper about family dynamics. She wrote, I really believe there would be a lot less divorce in our country if parents would stop and forgive each other and fight for their marriage and commit that they're going to stay together and love each other and forgive each other. And that really hit home to me, because my wife and I have gone through some things in the last 8 years, to where my wife and I literally sat down and looked at each other more than once and asked, hey, are we going to make it? We didn't know how to answer that question. But one of our themes that we had during those times where we didn't know if we were going to make it or not, our theme was, you are worth fighting for. And that's what we did. We fought for each other. We fought for our marriage. We went to counseling. We had to forgive each other. We went to therapy. We got involved with some classes that would help our marriage. And my daughter saw all that. She saw that, hey, we said our marriage is worth fighting for. We're not going to give up on our marriage. We're going to forgive each other. We're going to work on this because we're committed to each other. She saw that, and that was a reminder to me that my children are watching me even now. And she saw us go through all that, and she saw us come out the other side where our marriage is better than it ever has been, and my wife and I are closer than we ever have been. So be an example for your children. Be somebody that your children want to be. And then number one, this is the most important, because everything else that we've talked about falls in line with this. You have got to spend time with your children. Believe it or not, your children want to spend time with you, even as teenagers and growing young adults. They still want to spend time with their parents. We have something in our house that's a non-negotiable, and that non-negotiable is family dinner at least once a week. We usually try to have that on Sundays. And sometimes it doesn't work out. So we do it on Wednesday or Thursday because those are nights that we have free to do that. And I will say this, we've had some of the craziest conversations, like talking about aliens or what exists out past the earth or conspiracy theories or talking about sports. But we've also had some really deep conversations where my kids have asked about life lessons or they've asked about stuff that they didn't understand in the Bible. And we've had some really deep conversations. And there's been a few times where we've had, my kids have had friends over during these um, dinners, that these family dinners that we have. And it's happened more than once where they've sat there and they just look bug eyed and their eyes are just huge. And they're like, do you guys do this all the time? And we're like, yeah, we do this as a family all the time. And I will say, we've had more than one teenager that has broke down crying at our dinner table because they say, I want this. I really wish my family would do this. And it breaks my heart knowing that families don't do that anymore. Having family dinners at least once a week has really brought our family closer together. It's really helped us become a tighter family. Spending time with your kids is the third most important thing you should have in your life. God, your wife, kids. And they need to know how important they are to you. And how do they know that? They know that by spending time with you. Now, I asked my kids what some of their favorite memories were just in preparation of this, of spending time with their dad. And here's some of their answers. My youngest daughter, she said, when we went to go visit the college that I'm going to this fall, and we went there overnight and spent some time there. That night we went to the hockey game. Now, we're not a hockey family. We don't watch hockey, even though we live in the state of hockey. We're just not a hockey family. But we went and we had a lot of fun watching. And I'm telling you, I really think there were more fights at this college hockey game than there is in the NHL. And the fun thing about it is we bought like some of the last seats that they had left, and we had a bunch of small little kid teams around us that were watching this game. And every time there was a fight, they'd start yelling, "Fight! Fight! Fight! Fight!" And we just laughed and it was a total riot, and we just absolutely loved it. And my son, his answer was this: Dad, when you and I went to the minor league baseball game here in Minnesota, and we sat in the rain watching the baseball game, eating brats. We were spending time together, and that's something he'll never forget, sitting in the rain, eating brats, watching baseball. And then my middle child, she said, Dad, when you and I went on a hunting trip together, and I believe she was 11 years old when we did this, I had a 410 shotgun that I let her use. It was a single shot. And I tell you, that girl wanted to shoot anything that moved. And she saw a blade of grass move, she was wanting to shoot the thing. And I'm like, you can't shoot everything. But she really wanted it. She just had a blast just going around shooting that 410. And we also, on that trip, we went crappie fishing too. And I tell you what, I think we limited out with 60 crappies. And granted, there was a group of us there, so don't get all bent out of shape that we caught 60 crappies, because between the group of us, we did limit out on the 60 crappies. But I've got a picture of her holding this stringer of crappies with both hands with all of her might, trying to hold it up off the ground. And that's a memory that she's never going to forget. I want to encourage you as a dad to go out and create memories with your children. Go out, have good times with them. Discipline them when they do something wrong. Teach them while you're out having fun with them. Teach them life skills. Teach them how to saw a board. Teach them how to build a fire. Teach them those things because they're going to use those things in the future. Teach your kids by example. Treat others around you with respect. Spend time with your kids creating memories, playing games together. That's one of the things that we started doing with our family dinners is we also do make it into a game night. And we found this game called Catan, and we play that all the time now. And we spend hours playing it. And it's just so much fun doing it because we're making memories together as a family. You're their dad. Be their dad. Don't check out. Don't come home, grab a beer, and run into the garage and just hide in the garage all night long. Be involved with your kids' lives. Look, hey, I love you guys. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to just ask you to hit that like and subscribe button. But I'm also going to ask you to do one more thing. Let other people know about this channel. If you got something out of this and you think somebody else could get something out of this, let them know about this channel so we can grow this thing and we all can go on this journey together. Hey, have a blessed day. Go out and be the dad that God has called you to be. See you later.